In this video, I will show you some amazing traps in the tennison gambit that you can use to trick your opponents and win more games. So let's move on to our first trap. So after e4, d5, you play knight to f3. This is the tennison gambit. Black goes d takes e4. You play knight to g5, attacking this pawn back. And here, black goes knight to f6, defending this pawn. You play d3, offering him another pawn. Black takes this pawn and then you recapture this pawn with the bishop. And here, the most common move by black is h6, kicking your knight away. But this is a big blunder because you can shock him with knight takes f7, forking his queen and the rook. Now king have to take, otherwise he will lose material. And then you can play this amazing move bishop to g6, which is a discovered attack on the queen. And now the king is forced to take, and then you can take his queen and you are completely winning. Here, black can try a tricky move e5. Now here, don't get greedy and take this bishop because bishop to b4 check will win the queen and black will be winning. Therefore here, you can just bring the queen back, castle on the king's side, and then continue to play. Let's move on to our next trap. After e4 d5, knight f3, d takes e4, knight g5. Here, black goes bishop to f5, defending this pawn. Then you go knight to c3, putting more pressure on this pawn. He goes knight to f6, defending that pawn. And then you play queen to e2, putting more pressure on this pawn. And here the most common move by black is queen to d4. But then you can play this amazing move queen to b5 check, which is a double attack on the bishop and the b7 pawn. So he goes bishop to d7, attacking this queen. But then you can just take on b7. And here, if he goes bishop to c6, then you can just play bishop to b5. And after something like queen to d7, defending the bishop, you can just take this bishop. If he takes with the knight, then you can take his rook. But if he takes with the queen, then you can play queen to c8, checkmate. And even though here, if he tries queen to b6, offering a trade of queens, then you can just take this rook. And after something like bishop c6, thinking that your queen is trapped, you can shock him with bishop to b5, pinning his bishop to the king. Let's say he takes your bishop and then you recapture with the knight, and after something like queen takes b5, you can play queen takes a7 and you're just completely winning. Let's move on to our next trap. After e4 e5, knight f3, d takes e4, you play knight g5 attacking this pawn. And here, black goes queen to d5, defending this pawn and also attacking your knight. You play d3, defending this knight and offering an exchange of pawns. Here he goes bishop to f5, defending this pawn. And here you go knight to c3, developing with tempo. He goes queen to a5, pinning your knight to the king. Then you play d takes e4, hitting the bishop. Bishop moves back, and then you go queen to d5, offering an exchange of queens and also hitting the b7 pawn. So he is forced to take, and then you can just recapture with the knight and it's over for black. He cannot move his king, otherwise he will take on f7, and here he also cannot play knight to a6, otherwise he will take him with the bishop and then take on c7, and you are just completely winning. Let's move on to our next trap. After e4 d5, knight f3, d takes e4, knight g5. Here he goes queen d5, hitting your knight. You play d3, offering an exchange of pawns and also defending this knight. He goes e takes d3, and here you can just recapture this pawn with the bishop, offering him the g2 pawn. He takes this pawn, and then you go bishop to e4, attacking this queen. Black tries queen to g4, offering a trade of queens. Then you can just take this queen, and after black recaptures, you can just play bishop takes b7, and this rook is completely trapped. Let's move on to our next trap. After e4 d5, knight f3, d takes e4, knight g5. Here, black goes with this stupid f5. The problem is with this move is that it weakens his king. So you can take advantage of this fact and play bishop to c4, threatening a fork on f7. He goes knight to h6, only move to stop that threat. You play d3, offering him an exchange of pawns. Black takes and you recapture. And here, black goes e5, opening up his bishop. You play queen to b3, putting more pressure on this f7 square. Black goes queen to e7, defending this square. Then you play knight to c3 with the idea of playing knight to d5 to hit this queen. So he goes c6, stopping that move. You just castle here. And after something like, say he goes knight to d7, then you can play rook to e1, lining up with the queen. He goes something like knight c5, attacking your queen. Then you can just move your queen back, and after something like b5, hitting your bishop. Instead of moving back, you can counter attack with d4. Now here, taking this bishop is not a good idea, so he goes e4, trying to close the center. But then you can take his knight, and after he takes your bishop, you can just play knight takes c4, and it's over for black. The engine is giving a +10 advantage to white. Well, this is not the end. If you want to learn some more amazing chess traps like these, then you can check out this left playlist. And if you want to learn some more chess openings, then you can check out this right playlist. And if you don't want to miss more amazing videos like these, then don't forget to subscribe.